Good morning, everyone, and welcome into an early episode of Wake and Take, going live an hour early, talking some football. It's going to be good. Today, we're doing a first round NFL mock draft. I'm going to try my best here. The first one done live on Wake and Take. We have talked about one I've done, but this is the first one that we're going to live stream. First one we're going to go through together and have some fun with it. After this, stay tuned because the Sonic Truth will be going live directly after. So you've got tons of player profiler content for you this morning. Go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Yeah, so welcome in, everyone. I've got really nothing fancy for you in terms of the news. We're honestly going to jump straight into this mock draft, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire did re-sign with the Kansas City Chiefs as expected. We all know it, guys. These players that have been on teams for a while that just stay disappointing, they're not garnering any interest on the free agency market. They sign team-friendly contracts with the team they've been on. Such is the case with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I'm sure we'll tune into the case for a few of these free agents still kind of hanging around, like a Michael Gallup will probably just return to the Cowboys. Tyler Boyd will probably just return to the Bengals. Hunter Renfrow, maybe back with the Raiders, although I think he ends up somewhere else. Either way, just saying, a lot of this, the case, a lot of these players is that they end up just kind of re-signing with their team friendly in a way. So either way, that's really all I've got for you guys. There's a couple more developments on Rashee Rice, but like we said yesterday, we're just going to let some more stuff come out. We're not going to keep speculating on this thing every single day. There is no point. Just hold on to Rashee Rice if you got him. Buy him if you could get him for cheap. Sell him if you could sell him high. I mean, it is a very interesting market with him. So anyway, let's just go ahead and move into this mock draft. We are going to be using Pro Football Network's mock draft simulator tool today, so shout out to them. It is a free tool that enables trades, shows the team needs, even gives you some insight into the picks and all that stuff. So it's a really good tool to do this with. Shout out to them for putting this together. Let me go ahead and kind of change this format around a little bit. And you guys probably want me to zoom in a tiny bit, right? I mean, this looks a little better. Can I? Okay, well, yeah, this should be good. This should be good. So, well, guys, let me check into the chat before we get going, see if anything's going on. Yes, Chase, I am early for Wake and Take. The Sonic Truth is going live at 9:30, so they definitely would not be done by 10. No sense clashing with one of the best shows on this network, am I right? We're going early. We're opening. We're, Chuck Berry to the Rolling Stones, or maybe the other way around, whatever. Either way, opening act for the Sonic Truth. Couldn't be happier. And excited to get into this draft. So let's do it. Obviously, 101's Caleb Williams. We don't have to overthink it. And like if yesterday's show, we did already talk about this. Yesterday's show was literally predicting the landing spot of some of the top quarterbacks in this year's draft. I really think the Commanders are going with Drakemaye. I just do. I think that is the type of quarterback that Cliff Kingsbury wants on his team. I know Jaden Daniels, of course, the Heisman winner, but I really think just the tantalizing upside of Drakemaye is what that team in particular is looking at. So now we get to the Patriots, and in yesterday's episode, I did have them trading back with the Raiders. I'm going to try that again. I really do. I really like that scenario. If the Patriots stay put, I do think they take Jaden Daniels, but I think they are going to trade back. And I think it's going to be with the Raiders just because I know that that Antonio Pierce has worked a long time with Jaden Daniels. They are looking for their franchise quarterback. So I think that this would probably be the way to go here. We'll offer a hefty pick here. Cool. So the Patriots got a third, a first, and next year's first for the 103. The Raiders going up on the clock. They're getting themselves some Jaden Daniels, which leads us to the Cardinals. And I know that there's a lot of discussion about them trading, but I just don't see how that benefits this team. They need a wide receiver, the best one we've seen in a long time, staring them in the face. They are getting Marvin Harrison Jr. And then you look at the Chargers, and the same thing can be said. They desperately need a wide receiver. Or even a tackle, right? Like Joe Alt staring them in the face. There is some interesting ways that this Chargers team could go. And I also don't necessarily see them trading back really at all. I don't think that they want to go all the way back to 11. I really don't think they want to do that. And I'm going with the interesting pick here. I think that the Chargers will go with Rome Odunze. I know that Malik Neighbors will be staring them in the face, but just I have an inkling of a feeling that Jim Harbaugh wants Odunze as his wide receiver. Going up against him in the national championship, had a pretty solid game. Already familiar with him. I think they'll go with Odunze and leave Neighbors to the New York Giants, who also need a wide receiver. We're going wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. And the Titans then would be very, very excited to get Joe Alt, the best tackle in this year's draft, which leads us to the Falcons, who I think this is prime trade back territory. The Falcons sitting here, they could go a number of ways. Lots of people think they'll be going with Dallas Turner, but I think they trade back with the Broncos. I do. I think the Broncos will trade up with them. Of course, they have the Sean Payton, Terry Fontenot connection. So I think that that'll open the doors for a trade here. And the Broncos do really, really want J.J. McCarthy. So we'll start with the 12 for the 8 and then probably see if, probably the 3rd round pick is probably fair to move up 4 because I doubt this. 2 firsts. Okay, it was accepted. So we'll just go 2 firsts for them to go ahead and move up to get JJ McCarthy. Falcons are ecstatic to get another 1st round pick, and the Broncos are ecstatic to get JJ McCarthy. Again, I don't buy the Vikings are interested in JJ McCarthy. I think they're interested in him in that they're doing their due diligence and trying to get a quarterback. But, emphasis on but, I think that most of the case here is that they're doing that, right? So I think that we're going with J.J. McCarthy to the Broncos. I don't think the Falcons need to make a pick at number 8, and they're happy just to move back a little bit and see what'll fall to them. The Bears now sitting here, they've already got their quarterback right with Caleb Williams, and they were hoping that a wide receiver would be available for them at number 9, but I don't think they're sold on any of them enough, and they'll just go with the number 1 edge available, and that is Dallas Turner. Leading us to the Jets, who also need a few things. I see OT here. I'm just going to go there. Aaron Rodgers literally just lost the entire season because his O-line couldn't protect him. They don't want to make that mistake again. I know they've made a few moves in free agency, but there's a difference between getting a free agent offensive lineman and locking down your franchise offensive tackle like Fashanu looks like he could be. And now the Vikings are on the clock, and they also have more than a few things needed on their team. And I think that they'll probably start with corner. And I see Terrion Arnold here, so I'm just going to give it to him. I don't necessarily know which corner they'll go with, but we'll go with the highest rated one right now on PFN, which now, of course, leads us to the Falcons still being on the clock, still being able to get an edge, and still being able to get, let's say they go with Jared Verse. Jared Verse just has some insane athleticism, and I think that'll attract them a lot as we see almost a perfect raw athleticism score. So the Falcons get Jared Verse at pick 12, which now brings us to the Patriots sitting on the clock. They have so many different needs. They still need quarterback, but they're not sold on any of them. They could go O-line, but I think they'll wait. Brock Bowers is just a trade for or pick for them. So they will get their future corner and go ahead and draft some Quinyon Mitchell, who to some people is considered the best corner in this draft. It's kind of between him and Terrion Arnold. So the Patriots will get Quinyon, which leads us to the Saints sitting here. They're just going to go ahead and get themselves some OT, and we'll give them Fontenot from Washington. And now the Colts on the clock sitting here, man, they are, probably a bit upset. They don't really know what they want here. It's just kind of a bunch of O-line staring them in the face. I see tight end, but I think that Jelani Woods is going to bounce back this year, and they're fine with the room they have. So they'll probably just get an edge rusher, right? They'll probably just go ahead and get Latu out of UCLA. Good pass rusher for sure, and helping that defensive line out, which leads us to the Seahawks. And if you'll remember yesterday's episode, I think that they will be getting Michael Penix in the 1st round, but I bet they could trade back. I bet they could trade back just a tiny bit, and I think that the Bengals will maybe move up with them just to get a little bit of something, and they want to lock down their tight end. So let's see, 18 for 16, and let's just go ahead and throw them number 97. See if that'll work. Ooh, rejected. I wonder who rejected it. I wish it would tell you that. Let's see, Cincinnati, Seattle, 18 for 16. Let's make it 115. See if it was the Bengals. All right. I don't know. Whatever. We're just going to stay with the Seahawks on the clock. They can't pull off a trade back. So we'll just go ahead and just give them the quarterback of their future. Michael Penix Jr. reuniting with his offensive coordinator from the University of Washington, going to pick number 16 to the Seahawks. I think they will trade back because I think Michael Penix will still be available to them. But in this case, it wouldn't let me do it. So we're just not doing it. Which leads us now to the Jaguars staring at the clock. And they're probably just going to go O-line. They just have to. That's just who they are as an organization, trying to figure it all out. Go ahead and give them some Fuaga action, which leads the Brock Bowers fall to end with the Cincinnati Bengals getting him. Just absolutely love that landing spot. And I don't think any team needs a tight end that bad to want to go ahead and use their first round pick. There's a lot of good talent here. I really think he ends up sliding to the Bengals, and they're ecstatic. And now the Rams are on the clock. They need a DT, right? They need a DT. So they'll go ahead and get Byron Murphy 2, the second out of Texas, which enables the Steelers to stay within their UGA love and get some Amarius Mims filling their tackle position that also needs some help. And hey, that's also what is needed for the Dolphins, who also will just go ahead and get themselves Latham, which then leads us to the Eagles sitting here. There's a ton of different things that they could get, and they'll get Chop Robinson out of Penn State, letting whatever edge just slips to them stay right there. And now the Vikings on the clock. This is when they'll lock down their next franchise quarterback, Bo Nix, at pick 23. This is a pocket passing quarterback that fits perfectly in that system. One of the best touchdown to interception ratios we've ever seen from a college quarterback last season. So they're ecstatic. And the Cowboys are also ecstatic as Brian Thomas Jr. has slipped to them at pick 24. And the Packers now on the clock can go ahead and get themselves a safety. Now, I think that they'll actually get Tyler Nubin out of Minnesota. I see, of course, Cooper DeJean here, but I think Tyler Newman is the one that I've been seeing just kind of sitting there for sure. Okay, you know what? You make a really good point. Big time Timmy Jim. The Eagles probably do have to pick someone instead of Chop Robinson there, but he's just a good pick, right? He's just a good pick. But you're right. They probably should get Jackson Powers Johnson with the losing of Jason Kelsey. So either way, I have him Chop Robinson, but I also do like that center pick with Jackson Powers Johnson, of course. And the Buccaneers on the clock now. They need a lot of things as well, but they'll probably just get their center. They will get the center that the Eagles passed up on, which they probably won't actually pass up on. Missed that one. But Buccaneers at pick 26 will get Jackson Powers Johnson helping their offensive line. Cardinals at pick 27. Now on the clock, they've already got their wide receiver. So they're sitting pretty. And I think they'll just, let's give them a corner. Let's give them Nate Wiggins. A good little cornerback for them. And now Buffalo on the clock. They could go wide receiver here, but I think they might wait. And I think that they will go ahead and just get themselves Cooper DeJean. They've had some issues with their defensive backs and safeties recently. Just go ahead and lock that one down. I know that wide receiver is a big need for them, but I don't think they're going to be sold on any of the ones that are left particularly. And then go ahead with the Lions here. Let's give them a guard. Yeah, let's give them Graham Barton. That just seems like a Lions pick, right? Give them a good old guard, Graham Barton. And now the Ravens on the clock. They need wide receiver, and they're going to get the speedy guy, Xavier Worthy, fitting into that offense perfectly. They need a deep field threat, and Xavier Worthy is exactly that. The 49ers now on the clock. They're ecstatic that Tyler Guyton is still sitting there. And the Chiefs are also excited that Kool-Aid McKinstry is still sitting there. So that's what I have for you guys. The first mock draft on Wake and Take. Let's go ahead and for the record, I will change that Eagles pick. Chop Robinson goes to the Buccaneers instead of Jackson Powers Johnson. Let's just swap those. Jackson Powers Johnson goes to the Eagles. And yeah, I like that a lot more. missed that one going through. Sometimes, you just get the tunnel vision, but this is how it looks. Let me see if I can hide my. Cool. Hopefully that was enough time for you to see the order and everything there. Do we have any questions in the chat? Any questions going on? Maybe we run another one of these. Am I right? But that is honestly all I have for you guys. I don't see any questions at all. This looks like it'll be a short little Wake and Take. Just a first round mock draft brought to you live on Wake and Take. Maybe next time we'll do 2 rounds. Seems that would have been the better idea here. But either way, I think that was a fun draft. I think that we're going to see these quarterbacks, Michael Penix and Bo Nix, end up going in the first round. And I don't think as many wide receivers are going to go in the first round as expected. I think a lot of those guys are actually second-round talents, high-end second-round talents. Don't get me wrong. But this year's draft class is filled with really good offensive line and some solid defensive players at almost every position. And I think teams are going to kind of address those needs before getting cute and getting the wide receiver. There's still going to be some sitting around there in the second and third rounds that's when they'll start to fall off the board. The more mock drafts I do, the more unlikely the record of wide receivers taken in the first round gets broken. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the early episode of Wake and Take. Go ahead and get ready for some Sonic Truth starting at 9:30 a.m. So just a few more minutes before they get rocking. It's going to be a fun show. Make sure you tune into the Sonic Truth and make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to Player Profiler on your way out. We'll be back at our normal time tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern on the Player Profiler, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. See you guys all tomorrow. Have a wonderful Wednesday, a terrific rest of your week, and tune into Trade Gods tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, where Maddie Kiwoom and I will be talking some rookies.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.